U2 are a huge rock band from Ireland. They were formed in 1977 and have been active ever since. They are Bono, The Edge, Larry Mullen, and Adam Clayton. They are mega famous world conquerors. They've sold an estimated 150 to 170 million records worldwide. They rank as the 24th highest selling music artist in the US. They have 8 albums that have reached number one in the US, and they have released 15 studio albums, their first in 1980 and their most recent in 2023. Hi, my name's Dan. So this is a live album by U2, and it comes after their third album, War, and it's my first time listening to this album. So U2 are one of those bands where I embrace the idea that working through this list and doing these reviews means I'm going to end up digging into them deeper than I have in the past. I've had a mixed opinion of them over the years. So occasionally they've done things I've gone, yeah, actually, that's quite nice. There was a point in time when there were too many of my friends who were really keen on them, or too many people that I knew who seemed to think that they were amazing. And I thought they weren't possibly that amazing. And so I had a reaction against them, which is a thing that happens with just me, I think. And I kind of go backwards and forwards on them somewhat. I think I have probably quite a complicated view of them overall. So description of this musically, it's stadium rock. It's mostly kind of mid-paced stuff. There's a power trio of bass, drums, and guitar with the singing of Bono. And if I was to say it sounds like anything, it sounds like U2 of this era. Which is kind of obvious, but it sounds like, I mean, there are other bands who sounded like this somewhat, like Simple Minds and The Alarm and other bands. This kind of jangly, mid-placed rock. It's quite simple. It hinges quite a lot on the guitar, which, as I said, I already used the word jangly, and echoed, which is the edge. He's kind of the musical linchpin of this. The drumming is fine. The bass is so. Yeah. Bass is my primary instrument, so I hear the bass more than some people do. I felt like the bass was a little rough around the edges, and I probably would say I've heard more stylishly played bass. Um, I think it works in the context of this, the music and the kind of music that they've got, but I might have enjoyed it more if it wasn't quite like that. Overall, it has a very live feel. In some ways, it's actually a bit loose. By loose, I mean their timing isn't. So it's the opposite of tight, where their timing is kind of very much together and on the beat. So this concept of a power trio, one of the things that often happens with power trios is that it can be very tight and it can sound good as a result. And the band that comes to mind most obviously for that is the Canadian band Rush. This definitely felt looser. Yeah, but not necessarily in a bad way or a very bad way. Um, for musically, I would say it's similar to Bruce Springsteen stuff of around the same sort of time, and especially Bruce Springsteen live stuff. It has this kind of stadium but simple feel to it. Right, vocally, if Bono's got a Bono, don't know quite, got a strident clarion voice. It's a bit like a higher Billy Idol. It cuts through. He can sing pretty well, to be honest. It's distinctive, um, and but some people get irritated by his voice, and occasionally I do. There's a kind of, I think there's an element in his tone that comes across somewhat. I'm not really sure what the right word is. It's somewhere between smug and arrogant, but maybe a blend of those two. But I'm not sure. But also confident, I think, is that's the other way of saying the same thing, possibly. Um, where have I got up to in my notes? So altogether, it's got an energy to it, and it's got a live feel to it, and so there will be people who really like that about it. I think that it's really difficult. I've said this before. I think live albums are a difficult job because what you're trying to do is reproduce something that is a feeling of how it is to be there live in the concert without having the visuals and without having it as loud as it is and without being surrounded by thousands of other people who are enjoying themselves here. But it means that while trickery can be used, it's kind of disingenuous to do too much studio manipulation, and you can potentially lose the live feel of it. So I think this actually does a really good job as an album of giving that live feel. The songs are a mixture of things. On show here is definitely their Christian roots, with particularly with the tracks Gloria and 40. There's a few other isolated lines in some of the other tracks. There's some more political stuff. Um, I would still say that Sunday Bloody Sunday is somewhat political, despite the fact that he says it's not a protest song or a rebel song. Some people will love it. Some people will hate it. It is definitely full of the characteristics of U2, especially kind of earlier U2, because that's where it is. I will admit it's a bit preachy and maybe a bit full of itself, but I will also admit that this was the 80s and that actually there was a lot of stuff around that was, had messages, and they were trying to, impress people with these messages. It's not got, a sense of humour particularly. It is quite, serious as a set of music. It's bombastic, and it's full of a certain kind of charisma. And I guess the question is whether you like that charisma or not. I fall in the middle. So you two no longer, in general, irritate me. I know that they make some people's blood absolutely boil, um, but I'm also not a paid up fan. I'm kind of sitting on the fence somewhat here still. This has swayed me either way. Not really. It's kind of it's okay. I like some of the songs. I think some of the songs that they did on later albums I probably like more. The performance is strong, I would say, but in a kind of energetic and unsophisticated way. And the biggest negative, I'm afraid, is sorry, Adam, is the bass. So that's what I think of this album, and I'd love to know what you think. So please do share with me. That's it from me for now.